Okay, hello.
Hey,
How are you? How is everyone doing this weekend?
very good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Always nice to see you, Diana and Lisa. I hope your week has been good. No surprises.
No, no surprises.
Okay. So welcome everyone to another episode of People Who Inspire Us. We do every weekend. We find amazing people who not only share what they're doing, but share with us the behind the scenes activities that we are involved in that one way or the other is changing the lives of people in various communities and our society at large. So I'm really excited and I've looked forward to this episode for quite some time now. Today I'm having a very special edition because this is the first time I'm going to be speaking with people in the same episode of People Who Inspire. So I'm really inspired by these two amazing women. Best here, she's one of my guests,
Prince,
and
I
she's
think
really
you're cutting. I don't know if it's
is
on
it
my end or your end. Uh, there's
the
a little bit
same,
of
Lisa?
intermittent.
Is the audio
Is
okay,
it the
Lisa?
same with you, Lisa?
Yes, it's the same.
The same. Okay, so I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
it's cutting. Yeah.
Yeah, let me just check. Maybe it's the network. Okay, so is it sounding better now, or it's still breaking?
Still the same, in and out.
Still breaking up.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so it should work now. I'm very sure. Is it better now?
Yeah, sounds good so
Okay,
far.
thank you, Diana, for drawing my attention. Yeah, technical issues, but we'll still make it happen. Okay, so again, I want to thank you all for joining us for this episode of People Who Inspire. I have Diana and I have Lisa. We're going to be talking about being the change and with a very interesting twist, looking at diversity and inclusion, as well as the work that these amazing women are doing in their communities. So I would give the opportunity for Diana and Lisa to introduce themselves, tell us a bit about what they're doing, who they are basically, and then we can already zoom into the conversation. So maybe I start with Diana. And for those of you watching, you might have seen Diana as a familiar face on this platform because if you remember, we did an episode somewhere last year, which really took off, and a lot of you asked that I bring her back. So this is to your request as well. So Diana, over to you.
Thank you. It's always nice to be on this platform. This is my second time, and I love it. I love coming back. I always want to, share what I have and what is going on in terms of career, in terms of community work and involvement. So yeah, thanks. Um, I think I've said this before, but I'll go over again. I was born in Accra. I grew up in Takoradi. I came to Canada 10 years ago, and I grew up in a very big family. I lived with my grandparents, my aunties, my uncles, cousins, and yeah, basically that's all about me. So yeah, that's
and
who
and
Diana.
um, and then just a quick one. So you've been in Canada for the past 10 years, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to be clear on that. So Lisa, over to you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Prince. Thanks for having me. My name is Lisa Apia, and I am the founder of We Apply Canada. I help mid level to executive leaders land promotions and also make swift career shifts. So, the services I provide with my company are resume writing, career coaching, and I also do LinkedIn optimization for business and work. In terms of my own background, I'm from Montreal, Canada. My family is from Ghana, Kumasi. I was born in Canada, and yeah, now I'm located in Ottawa.
Thank you for the introduction. So we'll just look directly into the work that you're doing now. So for me, what fascinates me, Lisa, is that, and actually for both of you, that you are both public servants, but alongside you found the need to start some social enterprises that help individuals and help companies. So Lisa, can you maybe walk me through how has your career progression been like? Have you always, been a social entrepreneur? Have you always had this, inclination towards, being a public servant, or, so just tell me what happened after school, for example. How did you arrive at where you are today?
Sure. So I have a bachelor's degree in public administration, and after I finished my bachelor's, that's when I started doing internships in the federal government. Then I started my master's degree also in public administration, and at that point, I started working permanently for the government when I finished my master's degree. Uh, Getting into the public service wasn't something that I necessarily had in mind. It just sort of happened. I was trying to choose a university program, and we were looking at the various programs, and my sister was like, "Oh, this one sounds like you. I think you should try public administration." And I was like, okay. And that's kind of how I just decided. And I mean, I love the public service, I love public policy. It's definitely something that I have a passion for. I've now been working in the public service for up to 10 years. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I've been able to start at a pretty low level of, I started as a clerk, at a clerical level, and now I supervise a team that makes decisions concerning temporary foreign workers who come to Canada. So I lead a team of about 5 analysts, and so yeah, that's kind of the journey into the public service. In terms of social entrepreneurship, it's something that has always been in me, but I've been hesitant and fearful, if you want, to pursue it. But I finally decided last year that, when something is on your heart for so long, you just have to do it. So I've always wanted to start a business in the career space. It's something that I've said for a very long time, even when I was way younger as a teenager. It's something that I've always said. I didn't know career coaching was an industry, but I always mentioned things like that, like helping people get jobs, helping people show up in the workplace more confidently. And so yeah, last year I decided to launch it, and here I am.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, looking at We Apply, so I know for sure, I mean, I follow a lot of the activities that you do, I mean, for your social enterprise. And like I mentioned to you earlier, I think yesterday, that I'm kind of really fascinated by the amount of expertise. And I mean, for me, I thought you had been doing that for, let's say, at least 5 years because of the level of expertise that you've showed, and we'll delve a bit deeper. But before I go to Diana, how do you, Lisa, how do you, let's say, juggle between being a mother, being a wife, and also being a full-time employee in the public service, as well as running this social enterprise? How do you do you manage to do that?
Obviously, keeping a schedule is very important, but I think the thing is, especially with my business, I don't feel like I'm working. It's just something that I love doing, and so I don't really see it as a hindrance or something that's taking up my time. Obviously, I have a son who's 2 years old, so there are responsibilities there, as well as being a wife, as you mentioned. But when you are doing something that you love, when you're doing something that you're passionate about, it doesn't feel like labor. And that's really what our careers and our lives, our jobs should be about.
Thank you for that. I mean, if you're watching this, please stay glued. Don't go anywhere because I'm already getting, fired up. I mean, by Lissa's journey. So Diana, for for you, I think this is more or less picking up from where we left off, where you talked about a completely different topic. And today I look at your profile and I'm like, whoa, she's already starting another interesting venture. So I sense that adventure, from you, someone who is adventurous, and you also seize the opportunities as they come. So can you tell me about, first of all, what you're doing now as the co-lead for the RCC's Black Employees Network, and then maybe a little bit about how you are also, juxtaposing, being a public servant and being a social entrepreneur.
Okay, thank you for that. So the last time we spoke on this show, I was volunteering for a nonprofit organization, which was solely, looking at women empowerment, and it was something that I loved doing.
I think you're breaking up.
And I like. Okay, are we back? Okay.
Now I think yes, I think you're stable now. Yes, yes, please. Okay, please go on.
So, as I was saying, the last time we had a conversation, I was in the nonprofit sector, and being a full-time government employee, I felt that I wasn't making an impact in my work environment, even though I loved helping other people. And through this social enterprise that I was running, I was working with, I met Lisa. So I had to recruit speakers for some of our programs. And Lisa was one of the speakers. When I saw the name, it caught my attention. I'm like, oh, she's from Ghana. So she was one of the first people that I reached out to, and worked out with her, spoke, got to know her. She actually even helped me with my resume, and it was awesome. So I was in that sector for about 8 months, but again, I realized it wasn't making an impact as I wanted. And around the same time, George Floyd died. The topic of racism, anti-racism became a hot topic. My organization began working on an inclusion strategy to bring people on board. Now, I decided to take up this role because it's something that is very passionate to my heart. I've had the opportunity to interact with people, and personally, I have experienced some form of racism, microaggression here and there. So I felt the need to take up the space and be a voice for those who cannot speak for themselves. So this is how my career started in terms of the social aspect in leading the Black Employees Network. And by the way, the IRCC is Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada. So I work in immigration. I mean, this is the side of things, but my main job is right now I'm a program officer. I'm a project officer, sorry. Um, I started off as a program assistant. So I work in operations. We do all the pre-assessments of the visa applications that people send in. I see a lot of Ghanaians there.
I can
And then
imagine.
we try and make sure that, yeah, their information is okay. There isn't any kind of dubious stuff going on. So that was where I started, and then now I'm working on different projects where I design training materials for agents who are going out of Canada to work in different visa application offices. So yeah, that is what I do now.
Thank you, Diana, for that. So, if you're watching, again, my guests today, I have Diana and Lisa, who are really inspirational. If you, I mean, you look at their journey as they've shared with us, you can glean a lesson or two from what they are doing. Today, we are talking about Be the Change with a perspective on diversity and inclusion. Diana, there's this letter you wrote to your children last year. So there's a particular aspect that really caught my attention, and I'd like you to maybe speak a little bit about that. There's a paragraph that you said in I think that's maybe I just read a bit of that paragraph for the question I would like to ask. You said that even though racism in Canada is systemic and very subtle, it is my responsibility to talk to you about it. So that really caught my attention. And before then, like you said, you had given the preamble of the George Floyd issue and all of that. What really was the inspiration behind the letter and that specific paragraph? Could you like elaborate? Like, is it really that systemic racism, is pervasive in Canada, or what is that perspective that moved you to write this whole letter, and for that matter, that paragraph?
Thank you. So, first of all, I wrote this letter because, when George Floyd died in the hands of a white police officer, everyone was upset. The whole world was upset. It was something that generated great attention, and not only in the US, everywhere. Even the Prime Minister of Canada said racism exists within our system, and we needed to take steps to rectify some of these racial barriers. Now, I was watching, I think ABC, and they were talking about it. And my little girl started asking me questions. Why are they killing Black people? What is happening? It called a conversation. And that is when I said, you know what? I'm having this conversation with them already. Why don't I put it on paper? I felt the need to put it on paper. Now, when it comes to the question of uh, racism being very subtle in Canada, Canada is known to be a very great country everywhere, all over the world. And when it comes to racism, the US is what people see. They don't think about Canada as being a racist country. But when you dive into the system, you live here, you work here, you see that there are a few aspects of racism. It's not very obvious, but it exists. And a research that was conducted, I think back in 2017, indicated that Canada actually is more racist than the US, in terms
Wow.
of job, yeah, employment, and the way we do things, but it's very much embedded into the system. So uh, that paragraph is all about that. And to share a little bit of a personal story with you. I used to live about 5 minutes from where I live right now, and there's this store that I go to. At that time, or around 2016, at that time, I go to the store early in the morning or very late at night. And this was because I worked from home. My job was not very flexible for me to move out during the day. So I will go very early or late. Now, when I go to the store, I'll be in my, I will not be properly dressed like this with makeup or looking good. I'll just be in my joggers or even my, what is it called? My pajamas sometimes. Now, when I go to the store, there's this woman who will follow me all around the store. She will follow me every single time I go. And me being a person who wasn't paying attention to whatever was happening. I mean, at that time, I was making about $6,000 a month. I'm okay. I have a very good car, but my
Yeah.
appearance looked different. But this woman will follow me everywhere. I'm like, why does she keep following me? So I became friends with one of the clerks at the store. And then I told her that this is what is happening. I'm very concerned. I'm not comfortable. She said, "Oh, that's what she does to all the Black people who come here. She
Oh
thinks that when
no,
they come, they're going to steal."
no
Yeah,
way.
you know? So she told me that it's like when people come here, she follows them, especially people of color, Black. She thinks that they're going to steal. So that is who she is. We've spoken to the manager. We're going to be dealing with it. So what I started doing was when I go to the store, I don't bring a purse with me. I will not bring a bag. I'll leave my purse in the car, take my card, and then go in the store and shop. That is when I saw a change. She stopped following me. So that is some of the things we see around here. But
Mm, mm. Wow.
yeah, that is it when it comes to racism in Canada.
And Lisa, have you experienced, I mean, this systemic, bias or racism towards Black people? I mean, yourself, can you share any of such experience from your side?
Definitely. I guess it's when people see you in places they don't anticipate seeing people who look like you. So I've definitely had experiences like Diana, being at work in the public service, and people asking you for your ID because they feel like
Oh no.
this is a meeting you shouldn't be at. Or it's happened to me going into meetings where it's a senior level meeting, so people will be like, "Oh no, the chairs for the students are over there," and like, I'm not a student. So it
No.
definitely happened to me, even in my neighborhood. I live in the south of Ottawa, and a fairly decent neighborhood. I usually go to the gym downtown, and I
Mm-hmm.
was off that week, so I went to the gym that's closer to my house, which I don't normally go to, and it caused chaos with the owner asking me all kinds of questions. Do you live in this neighborhood? How did you get access here? How did you get the pass? Like, to go to the gym. So definitely, I've had those experiences that Diana is
Mm,
describing.
mm. This for me, I think I think I mentioned this to you as well, that I mean, also I encountered a few of such situations. But looking at today's discussion, okay, I would want us to look at certain, let's say, key terms. So you being in the public service and running your social enterprises and being a woman as well, I believe these are various layers, of marginalization, if you want to put it that way, because I see that also, especially back in Ghana, where women are not given, that kind of opportunities, same as men. Is this the case in Canada as well? Because I know for the issue of the racial bias, yes, but I'm not sure if this is also, pervasive in Canada, where, let's say, women are not given the same opportunities as men.
I'll leave Lisa to do that.
Any one of you can just jump in. Just feel free.
I think it really depends on the industry. Definitely, studies have demonstrated that there is a disparity within opportunities, within wage as well. So it's definitely an issue that is in the society. And I think the most important thing is having these conversations and driving for change at all levels of organizations. And definitely, I mean, I know in the public service, for example, about 20, 25 years ago, there was a big push to get women into the public service, and that was very beneficial for many, mostly white women who joined the public service. And that was a time where many more women were part of the public service. And, that same drive and that same push we're starting to see coming now for more diversity, and so the change is happening as time is progressing, but the challenges are still there.
Mm, mm. And Diana, do you have any take on this as well?
Yeah, I mean, Lisa said it all, a couple of years back, maybe 10, 15 years ago, we wouldn't be able to talk about women being involved in work. And there still exists disparities in wages and stuff like that. But there seems to be a way forward, more inclusion, GBA analysis, and research going on, pushing the agenda. So, yeah.
Mm, and there's a preamble that I have regarding inclusion, especially whether it's racial inclusion, gender, or sexuality, whatever it is. I see that for most organizations or in our society today, we are driving towards some form of tokenism, and I think that a lot of times the representation is just, in my view, just to kind of an eye service sort of thing. So you find that organizations would HR teams in companies would sit down and say, look, we have, let's say, 30 people. Out of the 30, let's try and employ 2 Black people or 1 Asian or 3 women, just to bring the balance. So it's not, in my view, I think sometimes this tokenism goes a long way to hurt the competency, for example, of Black people. So it's like there's a perception that you are there because you're Black, not because you're necessarily competent or qualified, because of this notion of tokenism where, we are just, putting 1 or 2 Black people there or 1 or 2 women there, so we can say in our annual report that we have 20% women, we have 30% women on our board and stuff like that. So from your perspective, maybe Diana, you can help me with this. How do we address this issue such that we are able to get people into positions because you're competent, and not just because we want to create a good report, annual report at the end of the day, or we just want to have a very nice narrative that we have women or Black people in our organization?
Thank you for that. The aspect of tokenism really does exist. And in as much as it exists, I wouldn't say we have to also doubt the fact that some industries are making improvement in getting marginalized individuals, whether LGBTQ, Black, Indigenous, people of color involved in their work. There's some form of genuine employment there, and then there's that aspect that also want to be like we're showing off just to see that we are agreeing to the inclusion agenda. Um, we will have to implement some form of long-term processes to see how this will progress. Now, when you come to the public service, there are certain competencies that are followed to employ people. And from what I have seen and from some of the studies that I have done and reading and trying to get answers to some of these questions, why we as Black people are not promoted, are not helped to go up the ladder. We've been shattered for so long. And even if somebody is competent enough to do a certain job, they don't own up to get it done. So in my organization, for example, recently some programs have been developed for career development program, leadership development program, and these are looking at putting Black people in certain positions that are empty, because when you climb up on the senior level positions, we don't see a lot of people of color there, Black, Indigenous, and all that. So my organization is working towards that. I'm super proud of what they're doing. So it's continuous learning, continuous implementation, and trying to make sure that justice is served. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And coming linking that to the work that Lisa you do. I mean, you basically are empowering people, helping them in their career decisions, helping them to let's say augment, their competencies for their career development. So I'm linking this topic of tokenism to competency. How does we apply, for example, empower people, young professionals of the minority, of color, or women, for example, how does your organization, your social enterprise, empower the marginalized, to stand head to head, with society in general?
Sure. What I'll say is definitely tokenism does exist, but I also want to say that a lot of times people are employed because they're qualified for the positions. I've been in situations where I've been told, um, in the public service, there is a law, the Employment Equity Act, that um, talks about bringing in people of certain groups into the public service. And I have been in situations where people have told me the only reason you're in this position is because of the Employment Equity Act. The only reason you have this job is because you are a Black person. No, not at all. It's never been an advantage. Don't come and tell me I have this job because I'm a Black person. I'm qualified. I have the qualifications. I have all the requirements. I did all the competition, and that's how I got the job I have. So at the same time, we don't also want to fuel this narrative where people think that people are only getting jobs because they look a certain way or act a certain way. In terms of my background and what I'm doing with my company, I'm helping people, mostly people of color are my clientele, but I'm really helping them see their value. I'm helping them see their value in the way they communicate themselves, in the way that they present themselves in the workplace, helping them understand the value that their cultural backgrounds bring to the workplace, and how that they have a place, and that they can bring what they have to offer proudly. A lot of times, sometimes people are very qualified. The people I mostly work with are mid-level to executives, so they're very qualified people. But what I'm noticing is sometimes they'll dumb themselves down so that they can fit into certain circles, because people don't expect them to have the qualifications that they have. And so, encouraging people to be proud of their achievements, to represent their achievements adequately on their career documents when they go for these interviews, the way to communicate, to be able to translate what they've achieved effectively to resonate with those organizations. So that's really what I do. I have many examples of people of various backgrounds. I'm thinking of one now because she just sent me a text message that she got an interview
Oh,
for
wow.
with
Go, Lisa.
yeah, with a UN organization. So I was really
Wow.
yeah, I was really
Sweet.
excited for her. But when we started working together, she was telling me that she's an African woman, and she was telling me she has a lot of challenges talking about herself and what she's achieved. She's so used to talking about the collective and what everybody has done, and it's something that she's had challenges expressing. And this has a lot to do with her upbringing, the way she was raised. But um, me having a similar background or a similar lived experience, I can relate to her and support her in that way, and that's how she is where she is now. But those are the kinds of examples of the things that I do, that a conventional career practitioner or conventional career coach may not have that insight to help someone.
Wow. I love this
Can I jump in here,
practical
Prince?
solution. Yes, please, Diana. I was coming to you.
I want to talk about the
Yes,
self-promotion aspect of
yes,
things,
please.
and I can relate to the lady that you spoke about not too long ago. I had issues self-promoting myself. I will always talk about what the group did and not what I did to contribute to the success of a project. And that really hurts me in climbing up the ladder. So self-promotion is very, very important. If you don't talk about yourself, you don't showcase what you have done, how will people know or employers know that the value you can bring to the team? So it's very, very important to be able to promote ourselves. And it comes from a system of, like you said, how we were raised. Africans are raised to be very modest. We always have to submit. So that comes into that play as well. So a lot of people need that kind of exercise to be able to strengthen that muscle.
Thank you for this. I can also very much relate, and I'm really happy for this young lady, and I really hope that she makes it through the interview round as well. This
Yeah.
amazing work, Lisa. Diana, now I want to look at the IRCC's Black Employees Network in detail now. So can you tell me about, or tell us about, the work you're doing that really empowers the Black Employees Network for your organization? What are some of the interventions that you've rolled out that are going to really help your organization or the network in total?
Okay. So the network was established only, I think, in December. It's super brand new. We are still in the foundational stages. But as the person that I am, I like to get things going. I'm very spontaneous. When I start something that I'm passionate about, I make sure I hit on it. I make sure I spread the word. So
Exactly.
yeah, the goal of the network is to bring people who identify as Black or have African ancestry to come together to have a safe space to discuss some of the disparities they face in the working environment. There are a lot of people within the organization that have great background, education, experiences out of the public service, but are still stuck in an entry level position. And I can put myself right there because I've been there. So the goal of the network is to bring these people together, help them develop in areas that they are lacking, and also work with management to be able to provide services that will help them grow within their career, move from that entry level into another level. Now, and this can be done through mentorship programs. So we just launched our mentorship program last week. We're also looking at having like a career coach, and Lisa is coming for sure. She's my number one. She can't refuse. So Lisa will come and then talk about some resume tips, how to apply into competitions, and then move
Yeah.
up the ladder. And then we have the anti-racism task force. So they are the main body that is handling inclusion issues within the organization. So they are with the management. They are on the management side.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before my network came up, there are other networks that already existed. So we have the indigenous network, we have the minority network. So those comprise like Asians, Latinas, and stuff like that. And then we have the LGBTQ community as well, and we have the professional development network. So we have this kind of a collaborative relationship. We've had meetings with them where we can come together and organize events, get to know each other. And especially these times that Corona is here, people don't get to see each other. We are all depressed. You're trying to keep up. So
Yeah.
these are some of the things that the network is doing. We have started, but there's more to be done. We need healing. People are very stressed mentally, spiritually. So we're working on towards all that. So yeah,
That's
that's what
really
the network
amazing.
is doing.
That's really
Thanks.
amazing, Dana. Yeah, that's really amazing. I mean, looking at there's one aspect that a lot of times we overlook, and that is the topic you raised about mentorship. I think that for most of the, the the societies that, especially for some of us coming directly growing up in Africa, there isn't much talked about as far as mentorship is concerned. I mean, you go through life, as and when things happen, there's not that strong voice that kind of gives you a certain kind of direction. So you normally go with the flow. You do what everyone is doing. So I think for me, that aspect that you mentioned is absolutely crucial, and the fact that you're collaborating with Lisa, with her immense expertise to get this done, gets me excited already. Looking at the discussions we've had so far about diversity, inclusion, and all that, I want to kind of bring coalesce everything into being the change, right? So I came across a very interesting quotation that someone shared with me some years back. And it said that the youth of Africa are the very people they've been waiting for. And that really struck a chord within me that, okay, look, we've always thought that the change we are looking for should come from somewhere. it should be external. But actually, we are the change that we've been waiting for. So trying to bring everything together now, Lisa, how do we drive change as young professionals? As young people who, whatever our backgrounds may be, how do we drive change? I mean, do we quit our jobs to follow change? And what is change? For example, what is change? Do we just change because we have to change? But I want your expertise or your perspective on how do we drive change as young professionals?
I think one of the most important things is it's already inside of us. A lot of times, what we're seeking, what we're looking for, is already inside of us. This is something I tell my clients all the time. We're not making stuff up. These are things that are already inside of you, and it's just a matter of bringing them out. When I was talking to you in the beginning about the fact that, I was doubting and hesitating before I started my business. I have a business mentor, and she always tells me, like, your people are waiting for you. And that always resonates with me because it always makes me think that all those years I was doubting, all those years that I didn't do what I knew I was supposed to do, I was hindering somebody else's progress. I was hindering someone else from being able to receive what I could have given them. But now that I've stepped into it, now that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I definitely see the change. And that's the change that we're all looking for. It's already in us. We just have to bring it out and inspire those who surround us. And once you start putting yourself out there, once you start standing for the right cause, for the right things, and speaking out, and people start seeing you, you start showing up consistently, people will follow and the change will begin. I'm shocked, just like on a weekly basis, the number of messages I get from people like, I was going through this bad situation. I saw your post and it inspired me. Or this happened at work, and when I saw your post, I'm encouraged. And I'm just like, for me, I don't think that what I'm doing is that huge, but then on the person on the receiving end, it's life transforming.
Yeah.
So when we all step into what we're supposed to do, that's how we're going to cause that change we want to see.
Thank you for that, and maybe a follow-up question on that. So when you were hesitant, to starting We Apply Canada, what was your biggest fear? Was it the fear of failure, or the fear of, am I good enough, or was that imposter syndrome? Like, what really was that big hurdle you had to overcome?
Yeah, I think it's just the fear of the unknown. And a lot of times, I have a pretty good job. People tell me, like, why are you disturbing yourself? Why are you gonna go start this thing when your job is fine, it's secure? Like, why? What's the point, right? But so also sometimes hearing the things that people are saying that are not in line with what you want or your values, and internalizing that, taking, people telling you you can't do it. Like, I always remember a conversation I had with someone, and they were telling me, oh, I don't think you can be a business owner. Like, it's not your personality, you're very quiet. And so
Oh
I
no.
I internalized all those things. And then when I would say, oh, maybe I should start, then I'll be like, oh yeah, but I'm quiet, I'm a shy person, maybe nah. And then I'll just, I'll brush it off. But not letting those things that other people say that are contrary to what you can do hinder you in your progress, because people always have something to say, right? So stay true to what you have in your heart, stay true to what you've been called to do, and yeah, that's what I would definitely say.
That's a very poignant submission there. So Diana, coming to you, I when I look at change, or when I consider change, I see that usually there's a status quo, the way things are done,
Oh,
and then you come in with a perspective that usually would go against the status quo. Diana, how do young people, or young professionals, or yeah, people watching, how do we first of all assess whether the status quo
Prince,
needs to be changed or
sorry,
not.
I missed the first kind of couple of
Okay,
sentences that
okay,
you said
all
because
right.
the line, the thing was restarting.
Okay, okay. Is it better now?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, so I was saying that when we look at change, we consider an existing status quo, right? And then we look at bringing in a perspective that usually goes against the status quo. So how do young people watching people who inspire today, how do we assess the status quo to even know if there's the need for change? Like how do we do that? Because sometimes when you're in the status quo, you don't even feel the need for a change, right? This is how things are always done. Like I remember growing up, I mean, you would always hear this from our parents that, oh, this is how it's always done, And
Mhm.
I quite remember when the Ghana introduced this neat fufu flour, for example. It was initially very hard to get into the market because the way fufu is prepared is by pounding, the sweat and everything. Someone said the sweat and everything is part of, the process. So how do young people assess the status quo to even identify if there's a need for a change?
Um, yeah, quite an interesting question. I believe that we are in a different era where things have to change based on how things are moving. So we are in a technological environment now. We can't keep doing the same thing over and over again like it used to be done 20 years ago. And with that, I'll say that young people should take the space. We have to take the opportunity to use what was done before, improve on it, and then do better. Take seats at key tables, change things. Don't break the rules. Don't break the law, but break the rules. So that is what I will
Mm,
say. We have to be
mm,
the change that we want. We have to not follow the same trend because that is not working. We have to look at different ways of doing things.
mm, that's solid. And a follow-up question,
And it's
Diana.
so
So
when we have to also take ourselves. It's all about if
I think you're breaking up,
the line is
Diana. Yes. I think
out.
the audio is breaking up a bit. I didn't hear the last sentence, unfortunately. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think there's some form of a network issue. But Lisa, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So I think we are having some technical issue with Diana. But just to continue the conversation, so there's this question that just popped into my mind that when we look at kind of implementing a change, all right, we need the buy-in of other people. So, I mean, we can't always do everything by ourselves. And in a typical organizational setting, would require some form of, let's say, selling the idea or selling the change to either our superiors or our supervisors or whatever it is. Lisa, can you share with us, how do we, let's say, promote the change that we want to see implemented? How do we get the buy-in? How do we get the buy-in of people?
Am I back?
Yes.
Oh, yes, you're back. Yeah, hi, Diana. We can see you now. Oh, she dropped off again. Yes. Let me see if I can bring her back. Hi, Diana.
Hi,
Yes,
hi,
you're back.
hi.
Yes, we
Yeah.
can see you and hear you clearly now.
Okay. So I switched my thing because I think
Okay.
the video was giving an issue. I don't know if
Okay.
whatever I said in the end. I
Yes,
mean, the last
yes,
sentence
yes,
was
that,
clear.
yes, no problem. So, just a follow-up question, Diana, that I know you went through a similar situation, so that's why I want to ask you this question, that when we talk about change or implementing change within the organizational context, we need the buy-in of either our sponsors or our supervisors or even our team. how do we share this vision of change with our supervisors or our superiors so that they buy into whatever change we are proposing? Maybe you can share your experience in this regard, and maybe share with the viewers also maybe what we can do, how we can go about it in the first place.
This is a really tough question.
Yeah, Lissa is going to also answer this because it's for the both of you. And the reason why it's so important is that I've been in situations where in the organization, especially if it's a personal change, it's easy, right? You want to change your job, boom, just quit or something, right? Is prepare your CV, cover letter, and go. But if you are within the organization and you see that, okay, this specific operation or this specific, area of the organization needs this change, and you believe you have that change. I've been in situations where I've seen that there's a need for change, but because I feel that, well, this whole stress of going to present to my boss and getting his buy-in, so I just keep quiet and stick to the status quo. And since we are talking about change, maybe you can share with us, what can we do in a situation like this, where we need to get the buy-in of other people?
Okay, so like I said earlier, it's a very tricky question and it depends on the situation. Now, talking about inclusion, now it's a big thing all over. All the federal government institutions are working on getting that kind of inclusion mandate within their work. So it's very easy to talk about this. And I did this before, like we had a team meeting. I came up with a topic of inclusion, how we can get everybody involved. And it was taken well because it's something that is being spoken about. Now, when it comes to a situation where whatever you want to talk about is pretty new, I will suggest you speak about it with whoever is supervising you directly. If things don't work out, talk about it again, in a very diplomatic way. Because sometimes I find that when people are frustrated with a certain situation, they attack the situation at a different level. They approach it with some form of anger, pain, and stuff like that. So you want to sit down and then think about how you will approach the situation diplomatically and respectfully, of course, and then you can start the conversation from there. Some organizations deal with the hierarchy in what is it called? Reporting. When it comes to reporting, talking about things that are of interest to you or situations, you have to go through a certain level to go up to management. You can go through that level. There are small networks, small groups that are created where when you have problems like the conflict resolution office and stuff like that, you can go there. So if you want change in a certain aspect, depending on the situation, you can address it with your supervisor. I don't see why people should fear reprisal. Those who know me very well know that I'm a very straightforward person. I don't beat about the bush. I go ahead and tell things as it is, but it depends on the situation again. If it's something you have to be very diplomatic, I'll be diplomatic about it.
And Lissa, what's your take on this? How do we go about it from your perspective?
From an organizational perspective, for sure, getting buy-in is important, and that's why the value of allyship and getting people who may not look like you or who may not have the same characteristics as you, but who understand the sentiment and can help move things along. So definitely that's important. But there are challenges sometimes in organizations and the way things are structured, and this what you talked about, or about this is how things are, and some organizations definitely have a lot of red tape that hinders change. For myself, what I see in that is that if you feel like you are unable to see the difference or the change you want to see immediately internally, you can also always make a change elsewhere. You can always make a change externally or with another organization through a nonprofit. Diana was talking about volunteering. There's always a way to make a change, and you as an individual, you have your own platform. You create that platform that you want to see and the change that you want to see. Sometimes it takes people to see the results before they will buy in, because if you're just telling them a great idea and you're pitching to them, they may not understand or really understand what you're trying to do. Sometimes you have to create the results, and when you have results, then you get more people who rally around you. So that's sometimes how it is. Changing behavior is something that it takes time. And if you even think of your own self, like if there's a habit you're trying to get rid of, or you're trying to lose weight or change your diet, sometimes it does take time for us to adjust to certain things. So there are certain people you will encounter who are not as open to change because of habits, because of their way of thinking. So you can definitely do so elsewhere as well.
Yeah, I think that's a solid point. Yeah, sometimes we feel that, oh, this is the only place I can I can be the person I want to be. So for those of you watching, you can send in your questions if you have any questions or contributions. You can send them through, and I would have either Lissa or Diana answer them. So my last question actually would be so. We've talked about diversity, inclusion. We've talked about change. Okay, maybe I start with Lissa. From your perspective, looking at the number of people you've been helping, all that, and what is the biggest gap that needs to be filled, right? So you've been helping people, professionally and all that. What is that number one issue that kind of runs through all the people you've been helping, right? Or the number one topic, and how can we address that topic, right? Is it resume? Is it self-confidence? What is that theme that runs through?
That's a big question. I think something that I notice a lot is that people don't trust the system. They don't trust the HR system. They don't trust the people, like the hiring managers. And so there is a role for the organizations to rebuild that trust so people can feel confident in the employment process and how things are done. So I think that that's one of the biggest issues I encounter, but then it's not something that you can change by just presenting a beautiful resume or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's something that has to change at the organizational level. And definitely, Diana was mentioning that organizations are putting together diversity and inclusion plans, and implementing them is just as important as well as writing those plans. So with the implementation, we hope to see.
My apologies. My internet is not helping today at all. It keeps cutting me out. I don't know what's wrong, but I'm back.
We can.
That's fine. That's fine. You give us a heads up, so that's good. So I think Diana, before you join, so I asked the final. This is my final question that I asked Lissa, that for the work that she's doing, what was the number one theme that kind of runs through all the clients she's been helping, and she shared with us. But for you, Diana, I want to understand from your point of view. I mean, like you said, you've worked through assessing applications of potential immigrants and stuff like that. What this is quite interesting. So what is your take on helping immigrants to integrate into, for example, Canada, right? What can we do better to help immigrants who are trying to either seek refuge, greener pastures, or get better education, whatever it is. What can we do to empower them to kind of foster change in these new countries they are trying to relocate to?
Yeah, so there is a lot of adjustment that happens when you move to a different country, even within your own city. When you move to another city, you have to learn how to live and get acquainted with the new environment. Now, Canada has a lot of programs for immigrants and migrants who come into the country. And RCC, Immigration and Refugee, is not new to this. We do have programs that help integrate newcomers. The thing is being able to find these programs, because I realize that most of us don't like to read. When you come to the country new, or we don't read, and I myself, I did that, and I really regret. It's really slowed my career down. It's really changed the way I looked at things. I did not do a lot of research to know where to go and find the right services. So it's about also getting yourself enlightened and asking questions. But Canada has great programs for immigrants. You just have to find the right program that suits you. Yeah, when you apply and you get your immigration documentations and everything, it gives you some of the programs that you can apply for. And we are also working on our policies, with the topic of inclusion and all that. We do have policies that seems outdated, because decisions on people coming into the country are based on those policies. And it has been questions have been raised whether these policies reflect our current environment of inclusion. So the policies are being refined to be able to get more people into the country, and not based on the old policies.
I think that's a solid point. So finally, to Lissa, are there any resources that you want to share? How do people get to you in case they need any form of support? How do people get to you? Is it via LinkedIn, or what is the best channel? And are there any resources, websites you want to share, or in any final words?
Yeah, my website is weapply.ca, and you can get more information about the services as well as contact information. You can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is showing up right under there, so you can definitely connect. And I will be sharing a free resume checklist in the chat of the live stream on Facebook. So you can just click on that link and just, make sure that your resume meets today's standards.
Thank you. What about you, Diana? Looking at, I wouldn't want to say people who want to relocate to Canada should contact you. That would be a disaster.
Yeah. For the record, I'm not an immigration consultant.
I know. That was just a joke.
I think we have to make it clear here, because I don't want my inbox to be flowing. It will be against my code of ethics, in terms of work, to provide any immigration services to anyone. I'm not qualified. Like I have to go to. There's a process that you go through. You have to register, take some programs, and then be certified. I'm not. I can't provide any immigration services, but I'm welcome to. You know what? My work, aside, the inclusion work, gives me the opportunity to join many platform networks. So you have to get yourself informed about what is going on around. You can't be a silo. You wouldn't know what is happening. So I do have like a lot of connections, and I do have to join different networks to learn about them and collaborate. So one of the networks that I am with right now is the Anti-Racism Ambassadors Network. Sorry about that. So this network is super huge within Canada. It's all over Canada. People from different areas. We have allies in there, white people, brown, green, whatever. So our goal is to come together and then advocate for the inclusion mandate and diversity mandate. So I mean, if you're looking for information about joining such a network, it's really
Exactly.
great.
Yeah.
It gives you an opportunity to also learn new things. They have opportunities for people to be on their board, to advocate, to represent them in different regions. So if you're watching and you're in Canada, you want to be a part of it, feel free and then link up on LinkedIn. I'll send you the link and you can contact them to join. Yeah. But aside that, I'm not providing any immigration services. Too bad.
Definitely not. Yeah. I brought this up to clear the air so that people
No,
who are
no,
watching,
no, it's not your fault. Not you at all. I know that somebody elsewhere will
exactly
be
someone exactly someone out there is like, okay, yeah. But yeah, thank you very much to the both of you for your time. We are 7 minutes over time, but I really appreciate you for sharing your perspectives and also really the personal aspects, the personal examples that you gave. Really appreciate that. And for those of you who joined us to have this amazing session, thank you so much for your comments and your contributions. When this video is uploaded to Facebook, you could also still comment and interact with our guests today, for sure. So is there anything else any one of you would like to say before we close the curtain?
No, I was just going to say thank you for having us. We were going to speak at the same time. Thank you for having us, Prince. It's a lovely conversation, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, same here. Thank you for having me. I want to come back for part 3.
Yes, for sure. You are now like a bona fide member of the team. So
yep.
Thank you so much. And I really wish you a great weekend. And all of you that joined, thank you so much. I'll come your way next Saturday with the next episode of People Who Inspire. Have a great weekend to you all. Ciao. Bye-bye.